Well, under this man, Rangers are really starting to show a change in direction, a change in signing policy, and a real exciting new era at the club. Yes, that's right. Niels Koppen has already started to make a massive difference in terms of club's targets, in terms of players we are looking at, in terms of the way the club appears to be going with its future. Now, it was very strongly expressed that the club wanted to set up a player trading model. And Niels Koppen was very quickly identified as the man to do that, given his fantastic work that he did with PSV Eindhoven, obviously being the man behind their signing of players such as Sabari, Noah Lang, Johan Bakayoko, and Ibrahim Sangare, to name but four very talented players. Sangare, of course, was transferred for a large fee to Nottingham Forest in the summer. Bakayoko, another player that PSV could well move on for 25 to 30 million after paying nowhere near that. And Sabari and Lang also attracting interest from EPL clubs. Now, look, the signings so far have really started to smack of a sea change in attitude from the club. Fabio Silva arriving on loan, the young Portuguese star, one time worth 35 million. Yes, only on loan till the end of the season and only with us till the end of the season. But then the arrival of Mohamed Diamande, one of the most promising prospects coming out of Scandinavia, one of the most highly rated midfielders, someone who it is highly suspected in 2 to 3 years will be worth substantially more than the planned £4.3 million fee that Rangers will pay for him in the summer. So, this direction really does seem to be changing. You look at the ages of these players. All these players are under 25 years of age. They're all young and up and coming talents, with the aim, obviously, of developing a squad that can obviously fit into this trading model and bring players that we can develop, improve, and then sell on for big money to ensure that we generate a war chest big enough to be able to reinvest in the team and bring in the players we want to really threaten not just Scotland, but also Europe too. Now, with the manager Philippe Clement already proving that he can get a tune out of a squad that many of us already know is not quite up to it. The thoughts of what he can do when promising young players like this are brought in. Now, I understand the trading model does need to be applied flexibly. Yes, of course it does. Yes, you cannot win anything with just kids. And don't quote me the Manchester United example, because you look at that team, they had players like Roy Keane, Peter Schmeichel in that team, very experienced core players. Now, people may say they're worried and concerned that, well, some people have said this, that we're only bringing in young, untried players. But if you look at this squad that Rangers currently have, the average age is 28. You look at some of the players we already have on this squad who will still be part of the team next year, who will still be part of the squad next year. James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, hopefully John Lundstrom. Players of that ilk, guys, they are all over ages 30 in the case of Tav and Goldson and John Lundstrom as well. So these guys are players who have that experience, have that veteran presence already. Cyril Dessers, who's playing well at the moment, 28 years old. Again, we have experienced players on this squad. There is a need to reduce the average age. That is something that is clearly being done by Niels Koppen. Now, the latest player that has been linked very heavily and is on the way to Rangers, if you listen to the reports. Now let's talk. We'll talk through this. We'll talk about how close this is. We'll talk about whether this is actually a deal, etc., etc. Now, news came out yesterday that Rangers were preparing to move for Lens winger Oscar Cortez. Now, apparently, this is definitely the case. Rangers do fully intend to make a move to sign Oscar Cortez from Lens, initially on loan with an option to buy in the summer. Now, this obviously is a good idea. Option to buy, option to get him, option to obviously trade up for him, option to see whether he's actually up to it. Now, I firmly believe this is a very exciting player, someone who can make a real difference to this team. Again, he is a young player. Again, he brings that young youthful exuberance, that desire to improve. Now, people will say, well, you know what? If he's so good, if he's so young, why are Lens selling him? Well, he isn't getting the first team opportunities at Lens at this moment in time. He isn't getting the opportunities to play. He is missing out on obviously that vital game time that we feel that obviously he will get at Rangers. And also Cortez has expressed a desire to play at a higher level, to play at play in Europe, obviously, which he can do with Rangers, to compete for trophies, which he can do for Rangers. Obviously, something that he will not do with Lens, with the power of Marseille, the power of Paris Saint-Germain, for example, in France. Now, if you look at Cortez, he's only 20 years old. He is a Colombian under-21 international and was the top scorer for his country at a recent youth tournament. Not only that, but he made a huge impact when he started his career with Millonarios in Colombia, including being part of the team that knocked out one of the top Brazilian teams, whose name escapes me now, in the Brazilian version of the Champions League. That was, of course, in the Copa Libertadores, which is their version of the Champions League. He played exceptionally well in that tournament. Now, he has a market value of around €3.5 million, which is about £3 million, which is expected to be the value that Rangers would pay for him in the summer. He can play in a number of different positions. Again, he can play as a 10, he can play as a right winger, he can play as a left winger. He is under contract till 2028 with Lens, so obviously a fee would have to be paid. Now, you look at this lad's stats and where this lad comes from and his talent and his ability. Now, he's full of skill, flair, speed, quality. He is a very highly thought of, very highly skilled player. You look at his record. He made 28 appearances for Millonarios. He scored 7 goals and got 5 assists. That's 12 goal contributions in 28 games at the time as a teenager. Absolute quality. Like I said, including succeeding in the Copa Libertadores, which is their version of the Champions League. And South America has some very talented players and some very talented teams. With Lens, he's made 6 appearances for their B team, scoring 3 goals and 1 assist. That's 4 goal contributions in 6 games. He's also made 4 appearances for their full team. However, he has played only 40 minutes. But on the plus side, in those 40 minutes that he has played for them this season, he scored 1 goal and had 1 assist. So 2 goal contributions in 4 games. And he is a talented player. He has never been played in the starting 11 yet. All his appearances have come from the bench. But a 10% goal participation rate in 2% of the minutes is pretty decent. He is another player that, again, Niels Koppen has scouted, has cast his net far and wide, and really looked at and thought, this is a guy who can come in and make a difference. This is a PSV type signing. This is a Koppen type signing. A player who is young, a player who is hungry, a player who wants to impress, a player who wants to make that next step in his career. I would rather have 11 players who are hungry, who want success, who want to make their next step in their career. 11 players who are young, up and coming, rather than 11 players you buy and have got to pay big wages to and try and improve, half of whom might have a horrible injury history, which seems to be the policy in the past when it comes to signing players. So for me, this is a very, very good move. It is not as far along as you are being led to believe in the media. That is certainly something that is not the case. However, like I said, it is definitely a source of interest. It is definitely a player that Rangers are trying to get over the line before the closure of the transfer window. So that is a definite. Oscar Cortez looks like a very talented player and someone I think that will add to our squad. Now, yesterday, we talked about the possible arrival of a Brazilian left back called Jefte. Now, there appears obviously now to have been a stumbling block over Jefte as well. We're also going to talk a little bit of news about Rangers scouting players in the Scottish Premier League. That's upcoming, so hang on for that. Now, Jefte, obviously, as we know, is a Brazilian left back currently playing in Nicosia in Cyprus. For Apoel Nicosia. Apoel Nicosia are a team that he is on loan to. Now, Nicosia are one of 9 teams in Cyprus who have been banned from signing players for debts and for financial reasons. So they are unable to secure Jefte on a permanent basis. Now, Jefte also apparently wants to go and play at that higher level and wants to succeed and obviously have a chance to play regularly in Europe and compete for trophies. Again, something Rangers can offer to him over what perhaps Apoel can offer him playing in the Cypriot League. Now, obviously, I know the Scottish League is not the strongest, but at the same time, Rangers are a team that currently always compete in Europe, have a chance of playing Champions League football next season, not Europa League football this season, and obviously playing Europa League football this season, all of which will provide Jefte with a good stern test. Jefte is a very, again, talented young and up-and-coming player who has proven this season his talent and his abilities. This is a player that, again, would add to the squad. Again, fits the trading model, and again, is a Coppen type signing. Now, the stumbling block is the fact that Rangers have obviously agreed a £400,000 fee with Fluminense. That is done, that is secured. However, he is on loan at Apoel. Apoel have a loan agreement in place until the end of the season with no break clause. So Fluminense cannot recall him. So as it stands at this moment, there is an impasse as regards the player. So what we will need to do is agree a compensation fee with Apoel Nicosia so that they are willing to rip up their part of the deal. Now, this isn't as big a stumbling block as you might think it is, because of the fact that Apoel coach Ricardo Sapinto has already said that he will not stand in the way of Jefte's desire to go and play at a higher level and to compete for trophies and compete in Europe as well with Glasgow Rangers. So, by that token, it was him that said Glasgow Rangers, not me, before I get slaughtered for calling us Glasgow Rangers again. Okay, so Rangers obviously are right there competing for his signature. That is, again, a deal that needs to be done before the January transfer window closes. Again, Jefte is very keen to come to Ibrox. He wants to come here. He wants to sign for Rangers. And again, this is a deal that Philippe Clement is anxious to get pushed through before the closure of the window. And again, it's a deal that's not going to cost us an arm and a leg, a deal that will enable us to sign a very good player for a very reasonable fee. You look at this as a possibility. You look at already at the caliber of signings that have been made in this window by this new recruitment team. Jefte, hopefully, Cortez, hopefully, Diamande, Dunn, Silva until the end of the season. These are very exciting young players who are going to add something to this squad, who don't come with any baggage, who don't come with any baggage of losing, who have a hungry, want to win, want to prove themselves, want to go out there on the pitch and show that they are worthy of first team football, and they are hopefully, obviously, in the future can go and play in the English Premier League or for one of the big clubs in Spain. That is the desire. And look, that is sad. Yes, Glasgow Rangers are one of the biggest clubs in Europe. Don't get me wrong. We are. We're huge. We're massive. We are one of the biggest. But the financial circumstances are at this moment in time that we cannot compete with the likes of Bayern Munich, with the likes of Real Madrid, with the likes of Barcelona, with Paris SG, with Marseille, with Borussia Dortmund, even with the English Premier League clubs, because of the amount of money they have. We are having to generate a lot of money ourselves. We are maybe in the future able to compete with some of those clubs, not perhaps the EPL clubs because they're TV deals, but certainly, some of those other clubs, if we can generate a war chest big enough. And that is something we do need to do. That will be done obviously through this trading model, through better TV deals, through commercial deals, which are already this board are trying to put into place. So fair play to them for that. Now, everyone got very excited the other day because of the report that went round that Rangers had sent scouts to the Aberdeen Hearts game to watch Lawrence Shankland. That's what everyone was reporting. Now, this very well could be the case, but why is it automatically presumed that Niels Koppen has sent scouts and Philippe Clement has sent scouts to watch Lawrence Shankland? There are a number of explanations as to why scouts were sent by Clement and by Koppen to this game. Now, there are two possible reasons. Well, three, actually. One is the reason everybody is hoping that Lawrence Shankland is the reason they were sent, because we're planning a late swoop for Lawrence Shankland in the January transfer window. That's what everyone's hoping. I know that's the case. That's what, well, not everyone, but a large percentage of Rangers supporters are hoping that. I've run polls today on my X account and on YouTube as well, looking at the situation in terms of which player do you want to sign, which striker is it that is the striker that you want us to go for before the window closes, before this window shuts down. And there is large numbers of Rangers fans who are voting for Lawrence Shankland. That is just a fact. That is the case as it stands itself. I'm going to look at the poll now. As the poll currently stands on our community tab on our website, Lawrence Shankland, 70% of the voters, and that's 70% of, I can't actually see how many people have voted, 1,000 people. So 700 out of 1,000 have voted for Lawrence Shankland. Last time I checked on X as well, the percentage for Lawrence Shankland was very high. So there is a large number of Rangers fans, whether we like it or not, who want Lawrence Shankland to come to the club. Reading comments, reading things that have been written about this. Yes, it's 50% of those who voted on the X poll as well have called for Shankland to be signed. So there is a strong desire for Lawrence Shankland to come to the club. But we are kind of, I don't know, putting two and two together and getting five a little bit here, because just because scouts were sent to Aberdeen versus Hearts the other day, why is it automatically presumed they're going to watch Lawrence Shankland? There could be another reason. Also playing on that day was Bojan Miovski and Connor Barron. Bojan Miovski apparently is a £6 million centre forward, offers a bit more than Lawrence Shankland. He's faster, he's younger, so has more resale value. He's an up-and-coming player again, would fit the trading model more than Shankland would. Shankland's 28. So that could be another reason. Connor Barron is out of contract. Again, a player we could agree a pre-contract with, or could even try and tempt to leave before the transfer window for a little bit of money. Very talented midfielder, very strong, very, again, up-and-coming, very good player. So that's the second reason. Also, there is another reason why we may have sent scouts to watch Aberdeen play Hearts. Yes, that's right. On Tuesday, the 6th of February, not this Saturday, but coming up next week, we play Aberdeen in the league. Again, another reason why scouts may have been sent. So all I'm saying really is don't get carried away, and don't think just because Rangers scouts were at the Aberdeen Hearts game that they were there to watch Lawrence Shankland because we're going to buy Lawrence Shankland. That's, again, pie in the sky thinking. It may happen, it may not happen. We've just got to be obviously more realistic about these thoughts around the player. Now, if it is we do bring in Cortez, that would represent 4 players through the door in January. There is a few comments going around that, again, that would be it. I don't think that's the case, if I'm being honest. I do think there will be a striker brought in. I think with the comments that Philippe Clement made post-match on Saturday, that isn't the case, that he will obviously go for more players. I do think that is the case. I don't think that we're going to leave it there. I don't think that we're not going to try and sign a striker. I do think, though, however, it is perhaps more realistic to suggest that any striker we do sign will be someone we have not yet heard of. Now, because of you look at what the evidence for this is. Number one, we're looking at younger players. We're not looking at more experienced, older players. That's not what we're looking at in this January transfer window. Silva is under 24. Cortez, under 24. Diamande, under 24. Jefte, under 24. Shankland, over 24. Also, as well, you look at these players that we've signed and are in the process of signing. Who had heard of Mohamed Diamande? Who had heard of Jefte? Who had heard of Oscar Cortez? Any of these players linked with Rangers pre-January that we saw? No. So again, they're keeping their powder dry. They're not really showing their hand as to who they're looking at. Also, Philippe Clement was questioned whether or not he needed another striker. This is what he said. Do we still need another striker? Okay, that was obviously giving a rhetorical answer to what the reporter had already asked him. And he then went on to say the following. He then said that his opinion, this is again reporting directly quoting what Philippe said post-game. I'm too long in the game to respond to that. I won't speak about positions, but I'm happy with what Siriel is doing at the moment. I'm also happy with Fabio Silva. We'll continue with that and see what we're doing in the next couple of days. Now, again, I could be reading far too much into that comment. Again, I could be thinking far too much into that comment that he has made, post-match after the St Mirren game, where Cyril Dessers did very well, and Dessers has improved in recent weeks and started to score goals. But putting that comment into context, that I think there is a desire that Rangers do want to purchase another striker before the January transfer window closes. I think that's quite clear. But I don't think it is being pressed and pushed as much as people may think it is. I think it is an absolute necessary. In my opinion, this is just my opinion now. We do need a striker. We don't have a consistent goal scorer in that 9 position. Dessers is doing a lot better, yes, and is scoring goals. But is he consistently taking chances? Is he taking chances when it genuinely really matters? No, he isn't. He's still missing the Celtic game, for example. So for me, there is a need to get a striker. But given what Philippe Clement has said, I don't think there is a desperate push by the club to go and chase down and pay ridiculous sums of money chasing strikers, e.g., Lawrence Shankland. Therefore, as much as we may want Shankland, I've been someone who's spoken in favour of Lawrence Shankland, of bringing Lawrence Shankland to the club. I do think there is a chance that he will not be signed in this window. Looking at the comments that have now been made by Philippe Clement, as regards the fact that he's happy with Cyril Dessers, what he's doing, he's happy with Fabio Silva, what he's doing. I think realistically they are trying to get someone over the line, but I do think it will be someone we haven't heard of. I do think it will not be a household name. That is what I am genuinely thinking, reading into what Philippe Clement is saying. Whatever it is, whatever the decision may be, what we've got to do as a fan base now is support and get behind Niels Koppen and Philippe Clement. They are making good decisions for this club. They are making good decisions for the future of this club. They are trying to make this club into a club that generates its own income, but also impresses on the field, that has young players, has hungry players across the age groups on the field who can come in and really impress and take this team back to where it belongs, dominating football in Scotland and competing on a European level. And I do believe the players they are bringing in are players with that in mind. Like I said, it is all young players at this point, and that does seem to be the direction we're going in. There seems to be so much evidence pointing to the fact that Lawrence Shankland is not an option at this moment in time. Like I said, I could be totally putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5 or 22, but that is just what I am reading from the situation as it presents itself and looking at the evidence that is in front of me. Just an opinion, just a thought. Feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to tell me otherwise. Free to tell me in a constructive manner, but let me know in the comments below. Well, guys, please obviously help us continue towards that magic 5K sub mark by smashing that sub and ringing that notification bell. And as always, on the way out, I ask 2 things of you. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, always remember, never forget, we are the people.